Hello, and welcome to the first session, Introduction to Canvas Apps, part of the App in a Day training. My name is Eric Levine, and I'm a Principal Solutions Architect and a Microsoft Business Applications MVP working in the city of New York. The first hands-on lab will cover Module 1 of the App in a Day training, Power Apps, Canvas Apps. If you have not gone through the introduction lab, which goes over the prerequisites, please stop now and go back to that lab to make sure that you're ready to go. In the first lab, we'll go over signing into our Power Apps environment, make.powerapps.com. We'll connect to various data sources. We'll show how to filter data, work with multiple screens, and navigate through those different screens. And finally, we'll customize the user experience by creating galleries and controls. Now, let's go ahead and start with the lab. In the first exercise of the lab, create the apps in Power Apps. We're going to go through various tasks. The first one is signing into our Power Apps Studio. As I mentioned before, you can navigate to make.powerapps.com and sign in. If you do not have a business or school account, or have not done that so far, please go ahead and sign in with one of those, or sign on or create one of those accounts. We're already signed in to our applications, and I set my environment to App in a Day 2020. We can go ahead and navigate to the first task, or to the second task, which is creating the new applications. We'll go ahead and click Create App for Blank, and give the name of the app as Device Ordering App, and select the tablet format, just as the following instructions. We'll click on the Create button, and while things are getting ready, we'll see that we get the welcome screen. We can skip the welcome screen at this point and get started in our Power Apps. If you see, there is two controls or two screens that the application has right now. We have the app and screen 1. We'll go ahead and rename screen 1 as main screen, and we'll move on again to the next task. We'll add a header to the main screen by clicking on Insert and selecting a text label. I'll expand the text label to the size of the screen and rename it as header label. It's very important that you name the labels correctly, as they will be used in the future tasks for this lab. We're going to change the text to Device Ordering App, and center it across the screen. We'll select the Home tab again, change the background color and the foreground color. We'll set the size to 24. We'll then add one more text label. And we'll move it to the corner of the page. We'll rename this label as user label. And we'll change the value of the text field to hello, and we'll add the name of the user. We'll change the color to white. Go back to the Home tab. And we'll just make it a little bit larger. We can change the padding properties from 5 to 20. And at this point we can go ahead and save the application by clicking the app checker. As we do not see any errors in our app checker, we can just go ahead and close it. We'll click on the File menu. We already gave a name to our application, Device Ordering App. And we can set a different icon for the application if we want. We'll click on the Save button. Our apps is now shared. We can share the app, but that is something that we'll do at a later stage. We can go back into our app right now, and I'll just zoom in a little bit. And we'll start by importing data into our application. So before I import the data, I need some sort of device or data source where I'll put my data. So I'm going to insert. I'm going to go and insert an horizontal gallery by clicking on Insert. Since I'm collapsing my screen, and go ahead, select Gallery, and select a horizontal gallery. I will see a list of connectors that are available for me. And the connector that I'm looking for is not available, so I can click on See All Connectors, or I can type here Import, and it will show me the import from Excel. I'll select the device order data Excel spreadsheet and click on open. It will show me that I have two tables available to import from, devices and manufacturers. I'll select both of these tables and click connect. I'll move my library and expand it. And I'll go ahead and go back to my screen and rename gallery 1 to device gallery. You see that by default the data source is set to devices, but we can modify this if needed. Now let's go ahead and arrange the device gallery. So we'll click on device gallery, click on the pencil, and as you see it will select only the first item. But when I make changes to the first item, it will actually make changes to all of the items. I'll go ahead and resize the first item to be a little bit narrower so that I can see more gallery items per page. And you will notice that I'm able to scroll through all my gallery items when I click on the scroll bar on the bottom. Let's go ahead and insert another gallery, and this will be a vertical gallery. We'll select manufacturers as the data source, and we'll collapse this to the left hand side. We'll go ahead and rename this gallery as manufacturer gallery. And we'll set in the properties layout, the layout of the properties, to just show the image. So I'm going to select image and title. Sorry, I'll go ahead and select two columns, and in the wrap count I'll change from 2 to 1, and this will change this to a single column gallery. I'll select the image control and collapse it. Let's go ahead and click File and Save again. Just to make sure that we have all the settings properly. Even though this is a later part, you'll see that when I click on the gallery item, it shows me on the image this item.hq. We're going to need to change this later to the logo, and you will notice that this changes the logo of the item that is displayed here. Okay. The next part is we want to connect the manufacturer gallery to the manufacturer's table, which was already done for us as the data source automatically when we created the gallery. We've changed the HQ item to logo instead of HQ. And we set the image position to fit. The next thing that we want to do is when we select a particular item in the manufacturer gallery, we want to highlight the item. So we're going to select the image. We're going to change the property to template fill. So I don't have the right thing selected. We'll select the item to template fill. And we'll change this to be a conditional item by specifying if this item is selected, we're going to set the background color to a similar color of what I have in the header. So I'm going to select color fade of the header label dot fill, and we'll specify this as 75%. That means the color of a selected item will be 75% of whatever the header item is. And you can see that the selected item, as I change or hover, takes the data of whatever the header is. You saw that I was able to navigate through the different items, and this is done by pressing the Alt key on the keyboard. So if I click on the Alt key on the keyboard and then click on Aces, it will change to Aces. Same for Dell or HP. As long as you have your Alt key pressed, it will act as if I was working on in preview mode or in app mode. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to filter the items or the device gallery so that when I select a particular item with the manufacturers, it's going to change what I see on the items table or the devices table. We do this by navigating to the items property, and instead of setting this to devices, we're going to add the filter keyword. So we're going to filter devices, and we're going to set the condition that the manufacturer ID of the devices is the same as the manufacturer ID selected item. So we see now, once I enter that, the only thing that I see here in my gallery is Acer. If I change or navigate to see Dell, it will change my gallery to see Dell items. Just notice that when I use the separator in my logical filter, if we're using If you're using this in countries such as alternate European locales, we might have to use a semicolon instead of a comma. Since we're using this in a Canadian tenant, this is based on CA that appears in the beginning, or in a US tenant, we'll have a comma separating the data source and the filter itself. Now let's go ahead and configure the text labels that appear in my device gallery. So right now, what I see is the device name and the device type. Let's go ahead and change it and change the subtitle for my device gallery. So we're going to change the first item to manufacturer, manufacturer name, and we'll change the second item to the price. Or, I think second item we change to the title. We'll set the header to this item.title, and we'll set the sub-item to the price. We're going to change the format of the price to include proper currency format. So we're going to specify change this price text format to a currency format. This will display this with a numerical value. We're going to change the font to Segoy UI of both fields. And then finally, what we're going to set is if the price is greater than 1000, we're going to change the color. So we're going to go to the color property and add a condition. We're going to set the color to orange red. Otherwise, we're going to set the color to gray. Let's go ahead and save the file again. Now, since we're going to want to compare multiple values before making an order, we're going to add a checkbox to the control. So we're going to click on the edit button, which will select the first item in our gallery control. We're going to select insert, input, and a checkbox. And I'm going to put the checkbox on the top, and we're going to call it or rename it to compare. You will see that it appears on every single item that is available. When I check or when I select the checkbox, I'm going to add it to a compare list. So on check, I'm going to select or type in the collect keyword, and I'm going to use a compare list which is not yet available. I'm going to select this item. So when I check the value of compare, I'm going to add it to the compare list. When I select unchecked, I'm going to write the same code. Instead of collect, I'm going to use remove from compare list this item. We're going to also set the default property of the checkbox control to this item in my compare list. This is the default item that is going to be selected. I'm going to move the compare underneath the price. I'm going to move everything a little bit up. And we can test this out, same as before, by selecting the Alt key and adding a few items to my compare list. I can click on the View tab and we take a look at collections. I'll click on compare list and I'll see that I have 2 items in my compare list. I can go ahead and remove these items now. I'll click on collections again and we'll see that my compare list is empty. The next thing is we want to set the default to the manufacturer gallery. So when I select the manufacturer gallery, and I'm going to have click on default here, I want to select this to the first item of the manufacturer's table. This will automatically select Acer as my default item. The last thing that I want to do is allow the ability to see multiple items on the page at once. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, move my labels a little bit up, and change my wrap count to 2. That way I can see 2 items or 2 rows of items at once. I'm gonna make this even a little bit smaller. Okay, so I can see all my items visible in 2 rows. Now that we're done with this, let's go ahead and add one more screen. So we're going to go get Insert, New Screen, and we'll enter a blank screen. We're going to rename this screen as my compare screen. And the first thing that we want to do is go back to my main screen. I'm going to add a button at the bottom that says compare. So I'm going to go and insert a button. I'll rename the button as compare button. And I'll move it to the bottom. I can expand this a little bit so I have more space. I'll set the text of the button to compare, and I'm going to select the number of items that I have in my list. So I'm going to select count rows of my compare list, and I'm going to add items at the end. Since I don't have any items selected right now, it's going to show me compare 0 items. We're going to select the button again, and we're going to select the display mode. That means if I don't have any buttons in my compare list, I want this to be displayed and disabled. So I'm going to enter a condition. If I have more than one item, if I have more than 0 items in my compare list, then I'm going to set my display mode to edit. Otherwise, I'm going to set my display mode to disabled. Since right now I don't have any items, you see that it automatically changed it to disabled. If I add an item to my compare list, it will re-enable it. Let's go ahead and disable it again. Let's go ahead and add one more button. I'll go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to call it or set the text to clear any items in my compare list. Going to call it clear selection, and I'm going to set my action on select to clear my compare list. And we can go ahead and change the display mode to edit. I'll go ahead and click on the compare button again, and I'm going to add a navigate option. So when I select this, it's going to navigate to the compare screen, or when I click on it, it's going to navigate to the compare screen. I don't need to enter any transition for this purpose. So when this is clicked, on select, it will navigate to the compare screen with no particular transition. Let's go ahead and save this again. I'll go ahead and click preview, select an item, click compare items, and it will navigate to an empty screen, which is what it's supposed to do at this point in time. Let's go ahead and close this, and I'll go back to my main screen. I'll rename my compare button, which I didn't do before, to clear selection button. And from the device gallery, I'm going to go ahead and click on user label and header label. I'm going to copy them, click on my compare screen, and paste them. You will notice that I just added the same labels to my compare screen. We can also select items and group them so that they appear under a single group. I'll rename the group header group. I'll go ahead and delete these two items, copy the header group, paste it on the compare screen, and the same logic goes here. We're now going to go ahead and copy the device gallery, which provides similar functionality to my compare screen. I'm going to go ahead and paste it. In this particular case, I'm going to actually set the wrap to 1. And I'm going to rename this to compare list gallery. Next, in the items source, we're going to set up in the formula bar that this points to the compare list. So this would show any items that I have set to be compared. Let's go back to our main screen and add a few items. And select a few items. Go ahead and click compare, and it will show me all the items that I selected. Now let's go ahead, we'll delete the checkboxes, we don't need it, and let's add some additional properties to here. So we already have the title. I'll go ahead and copy it, and I'll paste it, and I'll set the new item as the manufacturer name. I'll move the price down. And I'll set this to bold. And I'll add another item. For memory. And we can add an additional item for processor. And basically anything that you would like to add, you can add to this list. I'll move the price to the bottom. Processor might be a little bit longer, so I'll add more space for it. I'm going to add the selected item. I'm going to set the background for the selected item just as I did previously. So I'm going to set if this item is selected, color fade, what I did previously. Header label 1 dot fill and set it to 75%. And we're going to add another one icon to this list to allow us to navigate back to the main screen. So I'm going to click on Insert, Icon, and find the left icon. Going to change the color to white, and I'm going to select the action to navigate to the main screen with no transition. I can also choose, instead of the navigate, I can also choose on select, just move back to the previous screen. Let's go ahead and save it again. And we'll go ahead and preview the app. So I'll go back to the first page. I'll select a couple of items from different manufacturers. And Sony. I'll compare my 9 items. I can see they're all here. I can click on the different items to see the properties. Click on the back button. Will take me back to my app. I'll clear selection. I see that I have 0 items. and I'll go ahead and close the app. We're going to skip the testing of the app on the mobile device. However, if we do want to check it out, we can always go to Developer Tools and select to use iPhone, for example. And this will show me how this looks on the iPhone. And go ahead, close it. And that is the last task for the application. I'll just show you that you have the ability to share this with other users. So I can click on share, and this will allow you to share the app with other people. You would just specify any other people in your organization, select who you want to share it, send invitations, and click share. Go back here. I'll publish this version of the app, which will make it accessible across the applications. So in our next lab, we'll go over the Common Data Service and how to create entities and fields and change the different attributes types of the fields so that we can actually store the orders that we make from this Canvas app within our model-driven app. I hope you enjoyed this first training, and stay connected and go ahead and start the second one. Thank you.